go to stretching. These are like porno stretches.
No, it's not.
So when we do a seated row, there's a lot of different ways of doing it, but if you just do regular seated row, a lot of times that'll kind of get the upper back area. We're trying to dig way down in deep into the lower lat, and so we boosted up the seat a little bit, and then we're pulling the weight, we're trying to scrape the thighs a little bit. That lower lat, I personally think that lower lat is crucial for the development of your deadlift. Look at a lot of the big pullers, they kind of have this winged out, even the guys that are real big and fat have like this kind of V-taper to their back because you need tremendously strong lats to be able to kind of hold the weight in place. Think about when someone goes to do a deadlift, if they're out here, if they go to come up and they're out here and there's a lot of space between their legs and their arms and where the bar is and stuff, you end up losing a lot of control and a lot of power. But what if your lats were super strong and you were locked in the whole time? It starts to be kind of funny because if you think about it in terms of the bench and in terms of the squat, that matters a lot too, right? In the squat, we need to kind of wrench down, try to keep that sternum up real upright and keep those lats locked in. When it comes to benching, we want to do the same thing. We don't want to just have our shoulders up here. We want to be down and in and here and bring the elbows through here. And the more that we work on that lat development, the more compression and the more power we'll be able to develop out of pushing through to the top of the lift on the bench press, because the back is the stabilizing muscle of the bench press, because that's what we're laying on. So this is a great exercise. Give it a shot. You're gonna have to use a lot less weight than normal, and give it a pause. You know, pause it a little bit. Get a good squeeze in there. And sometimes you might even want your feet down so your legs are totally out of the way. And you pull right towards the hip.
Go now.
Yep, that's 3 sets. That hits the Weider principles. So we did a couple sets working up, sets of 5. We did a lot of work beforehand too. Supersetting those other ones beforehand really wore down the lats. What I like to do is about every other week, we start with a compound main movement first. On the other weeks, like this week, we started out with exercises that kind of pre-exhaust, pre-fatigue us. What that does is it gives us a great effect with less. So in this case, we had to use a little bit less weight because we're pre-fatigued. It doesn't seem like much, but when you pump the muscles with a lot of blood, it's really hard to exert a lot of force. So we did a bunch of stuff over there, came over here, did the heavier rows with no form, no regard to form, and then took the weight back down and tried to have the best form we can. Did some back and biceps today. We trained back for seemed like an hour or so. And you know, sometimes I'm looking for new and different exercises, so sometimes that takes a little bit longer. I'm always trying to just discover and uncover new and different things that can be fun or things that can get us a result quick. And so sometimes I'll poke around at some exercises. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. Sometimes it can be a little frustrating, but you got to just keep moving, keep having a good workout. So that's what we did. We started out doing some stretches for the lats. into kind of like a lat pull down, I would say. And we supersetted that with a low row where we were pulling kind of more towards the hip again. And from there we moved into some bent over rows. We did 2 different styles of bent over rows. One where we just had at it with ship form for sets of 5, and then ones where we had more strict form and we're adhering to better form. That's what I would advise a lot of you newer lifters to do, is like, you know, listen to the things I'm saying and listen to the things that people are preaching and coaching about technique and trying to have your back flat and all these different things, but also have at it a little bit too, because in order to be great at this, you're gonna have to ride that line a little bit. Now, I'm not saying you should have bad form, but I'm saying that you should still be able to go heavy. So if you're only training with weights that don't break your form down at all, in my opinion, you will not get stronger. More advanced lifters can get strong by utilizing perfect technique all the time and not ever have breakdowns in form, but they're veterans and been doing it for 10 plus years. From the rows, we moved into doing some stuff outside. Anytime you have the opportunity to get outside, get your asses outside, do something different. Include some conditioning work. As a power lifter, and if you can include some conditioning, I highly recommend that. Get the heart rate up a little bit. So we did some rows with the tank, and then we did some bent over rows with our war wagon. If you don't have those tools, that's okay. Still wheel some weights outside and figure it out whatever way you can. You could pull on a regular sled, would be a great way to do some more lat work. Came inside and did some dumbbell rows, again pulling them towards the hip, because that's my belief on how to recruit the most amount of muscle fibers for the lats. And then we did some pull-ups. I'm really shitty at pull-ups. I was getting good at them for a bit there and I stopped doing them. I gotta bring those back up, so I'm gonna start working on those again. From there we moved into some bicep work, and we started out with some hammer curls. Sometimes the simpler you keep it, sometimes the better. So we just had at it right there with 4 sets of 10. Nothing fancy, just short rest intervals. Sometimes short rest intervals with the same amount of weight can be really, really effective. You're gonna recruit a lot of muscle fibers in sets number 3, sets number 4, sets number 5, because fatigue's gonna settle in because you're not recovered from the set. So that's a great way to get a good pump. So we started with that. Then we moved into doing some regular barbell curls in the rack. We went as heavy as we could for sets of about 8, brought the weight back down, had better form, and worked on recruiting the muscle fibers and supersetted it with a low pulley curl bar curl for about sets of 10 on each one of those. Then we moved into some preacher curls where we just went nuts and we just lost our minds and really just tried to get a pump and then really stick it to ourselves that much more worserist after we already had a pump. Just trying to make the arms explode. And we finished with one of my favorite exercises, which is the gun walk. The gun walk could be utilized in the beginning of a workout or at the end of a workout. It's a great warm-up as well. I've even done it with the hip circle on to warm up for lower body workouts. But grab a 25-pound plate, just try to hold it just like this, and don't let it go this way, or don't let it touch your body, and hold it for as long as you can, as far as you can walk. For us, we just go down and back on the turf, and that worked really well. I did it with a 45 today, and then I had to do it with a 25, then my arms gave out. Strength is never a weakness, weakness is never a strength, and that is it from Super Training Gym. Later.